I said earlier, I mean, we know everything they're trying to run.
How do you guys know everything they're trying to run? Because of her right here with her hand on her damn face. That's how y'all know everything they're trying to run, because she damn me cheated. She came in, she was a spy, and she leaked everything. She cheated. She cheated. That's how y'all know. You wouldn't know shit if it wasn't for Dewanna Bonner.
Dewanna Bonner just made a fool of herself, and everyone saw it. In an attempt to bully Caitlin Clark, the veteran, who couldn't handle being overshadowed by a 22-year-old rising star, exposed her own insecurities and bitterness for the world to see.
I gotta admit, the end of the Fever Mercury game made me sit up for a second, because it got a little spicy with Caitlin Clark having an interaction with Dewanna Bonner out on the middle of the floor, sort of waving her back to the bench. I mean, the rest of the game was following a familiar script where the Fever fall behind and they fight back and they show the grit, but they lose to a team that has more talent than them at this point in time. But that interaction stood out to me for a couple of reasons. I mean, number one, obviously, is the history there, where Dewanna Bonner was on the Fever for a cup of coffee and then winds up on the Mercury. Before the season, Caitlin Clark said she wanted to win a ring for her. Right.
Instead of embracing the success of the team and supporting the future of the WNBA, Bonner tried to tear down the very player who's been making waves and saving the league from irrelevance. It's clear now, Bonner's jealousy and entitlement were too much to hide, and on September 2, 2025, we saw her true colors.
Pissed off, man. I'm pissed off. This is trash, bruh. Dewanna Bonner, who you think you is? Who you think you is trying to walk up on Caitlin Clark like that? Who you think you are? You ain't nothing but a scammer, a quitter, and a traitor. You got me twisted. I don't know who you think you are walking up on the GOAT talking crazy. You was just acting like a mentor to her when we brought you in. Us fans never even wanted your, oh my God, we never even wanted your.
When Dewanna Bonner signed with the Indiana Fever in February 2025, it was supposed to be another opportunity for a seasoned pro to help lead a young team. But what she found wasn't a cushy situation. It was a team transformed by the arrival of Caitlin Clark, a player who was bringing in massive attention, drawing huge crowds, and leading a team that was quickly becoming one of the most exciting in the WNBA. But Bonner didn't see it that way.
But Caitlin Clark's obviously saying something to the referee, and Dewanna Bonner is saying challenge or something, because it wasn't being challenged. Basically, I'm guessing Dewanna Bonner is saying basically if it's not a foul, challenge the call. And eventually Caitlin Clark midway brushes off Dewanna Bonner.
Instead of embracing her role as a mentor, she looked at her own diminishing role and became frustrated. The truth? She couldn't handle not being the center of attention. Bonner, a once promising star in the league, was having a hard time accepting her place on a team that wasn't built around her.
We got Dewanna Bonner, who was complete trash. She was a complete bum while she was wearing the Indiana Fever jersey. This lady was shooting threes, hitting the side of the backboard. She was trash while she was at Indiana Fever. We had to pull strings and pull teeth to help her break a record. We had to do all types of stuff to help her break the record. And you got the nerve to try to talk crazy to Caitlin Clark? Who the hell you think you is? Dewanna Bonner? Wasn't nobody watching your games? Nobody even knew who you was. Nobody even knew you. Stop it.
In the first 3 games, she averaged just 7.1 points per game and shot a miserable percentage from the field. This wasn't the veteran leadership the Fever were expecting. So what did Coach Stephanie White do? She made the tough decision to bench Bonner.
19 points for DB. Comes to the squad, leaves disrespectfully, and the last 2 times we've seen her, she's been rubbing our nose in it. Yes, I left you. What are you gonna do about it? Not a damn thing, because your head coach is soft and weak and not a real coach. Your head coach quit on the Connecticut Sun, so I'm quitting on her. Sorry.
But instead of rolling up her sleeves and fighting for her spot back, Bonner took the path of least resistance, whining, complaining, and ultimately asking for a trade, claiming the fit wasn't right. In reality, Bonner couldn't handle the challenge of being on a team where she wasn't the focal point.
I don't even care about you not playing in Indiana no more. It's just like the way you did this shit, man. You sat out, stopped coming to work, walked out of your $200K contract, all of this shit, stayed at home wherever the fuck you were because you weren't scissoring enough with Alyssa Thomas, man. And then to sit up here and grant her wish to go and scissor with her lover on another team, this would never happen in the NBA. This is why I have such a hard time respecting this women's basketball shit to the full degree, because no other league around the world in sports does shit like this happen.
Bonner's career had been largely defined by mediocrity, yet she believed she still deserved to be the center of attention. Enter Caitlin Clark. This was a 22-year-old who had turned the WNBA upside down. From record-breaking college performances to selling out arenas and breaking viewership records, Clark was everything the WNBA needed. And in the process, she overshadowed Bonner.
Dewanna Bonner, you're a sore loser. You're obviously not a competitor. You were brought in as a vet and expected your tenure to be able to save your starting spot, even though you haven't been able to deliver, because you're not the same Dewanna Bonner you were fucking 5-6 years ago. You want to have a stank-ass, nasty attitude because the girls around you are better than you, younger than you, and are playing better? Take your piss-poor attitude on. The Indiana Fever locker room doesn't need that. You're not owed a spot in the WNBA on a roster because of your tenure. You're not owed a spot on the roster because you're one of the vets that laid the foundation. Veterans always want to talk about how they want to protect the league and how they want to set the league up and how they want to take care of it and leave it better for the next generation. Putting the best players on the floor is what...
Instead of embracing the opportunity to be part of something special, she resented it.
It was clear, Bonner resented Clark. Every packed stadium, every highlight reel, every fan's attention. It wasn't for her anymore. It was for Clark. And that's when Bonner's jealousy began to boil over. The entire situation, Bonner trying to find fault with a team that was thriving with Clark as the face, began to expose something ugly in Bonner's character. Instead of celebrating the success of her younger teammate and embracing the opportunity to contribute to a winning team, Bonner simply couldn't cope with being in the shadows.
Yeah, you're coming for the wrong one, ma'am. You need to be worried about those rusty knees of yours with that WD-40. You hear me? You need WD-40 in them knees. You're old, you was complaining about running up and down, running a fast-paced offense because you said it makes you tired. Okay, you almost 40. If you don't want to play up to your best and be great, I think you need to go find another team. You hear me? And clearly you did. You snaked your way out of the possibilities of probably winning another.
Things escalated when Bonner went MIA for 5 straight games, citing personal reasons. But it was clear to anyone paying attention. Bonner wasn't dealing with anything personal. She was sulking. She was upset about being benched and frustrated that her team was thriving without her.
One of the only entertaining parts about this game, though, was when a timeout was called, and then Dewanna Bonner and Caitlin Clark had some words. It was right after a foul was called, and I believe it actually was a foul. Either way, Caitlin Clark went out there defending her teammates, shooing off Dewanna Bonner when Dewanna Bonner was finger twirling.
Then you see Caitlin Clark to the right behind the coach coming out and jawing at Dewanna Bonner. Dewanna Bonner says, yeah, it was a foul. And Clark is saying, no foul. Yes, it was a foul.
But again, props to Kelsey Mitchell for coming away with 29 points, not letting this...
Rather than step up to the challenge and work her way back into the lineup, she abandoned her teammates. No phone calls, no messages, just silence. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark was out there, playing through injuries, leading the team, making sure her commitment was clear. Clark's behavior contrasted sharply with Bonner's. While Bonner folded, Clark kept pushing, showing what it meant to be a real leader, not just a player who expected to be coddled.
Caitlin Clark told her, beat it, bum. Beat it. Beat it. You trash. You a quitter. And you a thief. You stole money from the Indiana Fever. You a thief in the night, Dewanna Bonner. You got some nerve trying to talk crazy to Caitlin Clark. She the only reason half the people even know you. Nobody knew you throughout your career. Wasn't nobody watching your games. I ain't never seen nobody in a Dewanna Bonner show. Nobody knew you, man. You got it.
Then came September 2, 2025, the game that exposed Dewanna Bonner for exactly who she was. The Phoenix Mercury hosted the Indiana Fever, and Bonner, after a few decent games, thought she was finally in a position to assert herself. She had just scored 19 points, her best showing in months, and she was feeling bold. But then, the unthinkable happened. During a timeout in the third quarter, Bonner approached the Fever bench to argue with the officials about a call. Caitlin Clark, who wasn't even playing due to injury, had been observing the game from the sidelines. She'd had enough. Clark, in her sweats, got up and calmly dismissed Bonner. "It's not a foul," she said, waving Bonner off. Bonner was stunned. Here she was, trying to act like the veteran leader she thought she was, and Clark, still the star, gave her no respect. The nerve of Bonner to try and intimidate Clark, of all people, was staggering. What happened next was exactly what Bonner deserved. Fans were furious. Social media exploded with support for Clark, calling out Bonner for her childish antics. The media was quick to frame the situation as yet another example of veteran entitlement. Bonner's actions were widely criticized, and the WNBA community made their voices heard. Fans demanded consequences. They didn't want to see a veteran like Bonner taint the league by bullying the players who were actually pushing it forward. The difference between Clark and Bonner was clear for all to see. Clark, even injured, showed leadership, maturity, and confidence. Bonner, on the other hand, was desperate for attention, willing to tear down a rising star just to feel relevant again. Clark was more than a player, she was the future of the WNBA. Bonner, she was a relic of the past, bitter and broken, unable to accept that her time had passed.
Bonner won on this. Caitlin can't talk from the bench. When you quit on a team like Dewanna Bonner did, anyone can talk. Anyone can talk no matter what. When you quit like Dewanna Bonner did, everyone has the right to talk. I mean that. Everyone has the right to talk when you quit like Dewanna Bonner did on the Fever. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone has the right to talk. You don't just quit on a team on a personal level. It isn't basketball. Doing what Dewanna Bonner did and not even texting the team when she did it, that's not basketball anymore.
As the WNBA grows, so too does the pressure on its players. The league has evolved over the past few years, thanks in large part to the energy brought by superstars like Caitlin Clark. Every game, every season, becomes more crucial, not just for the athletes themselves, but for the future of women's basketball. In the past, the WNBA was a league dominated by veterans. Now it's a battleground between experience and fresh talent. Veterans like Dewanna Bonner are finding themselves in an increasingly difficult position. While they once controlled the narrative, the rise of new players has completely changed the stakes. Caitlin Clark is not just an exceptional talent, she's part of a wave of players who are redefining what it means to be a star in the WNBA. This isn't just about on-the-court skills anymore, it's about marketability, fan engagement, and who's driving the growth of the league. For players like Bonner, who've spent their careers as the face of their teams, this shift can be frustrating. Instead of adjusting to a new environment and becoming a true mentor, they end up holding on to outdated perceptions of themselves. The fact that Bonner thought she could bully Clark just proves how out of touch some veterans are with the current state of the WNBA. If the league is serious about its future, it needs to make a stand about what kind of behavior will be tolerated, especially from players who think they can hold on to relevance through spite and intimidation. What Caitlin Clark is doing for the WNBA isn't just about winning games, it's about transforming an entire sport. The excitement she brings to the court isn't just about scoring 40 points, it's about showing the world that women's basketball can be just as electrifying, just as entertaining, and just as competitive as the men's game. Fans are flocking to the arenas and tuning in to watch the next big play, not just to see players like Bonner holding on to their past glory.
She felt like she couldn't fit with the rotations of the team. She's upset that Lexi Hall took her spot. That's the truth. Little blonde girl from next door took her spot. That's what it was. Well, Lexi Hall is a good basketball player. I think she earned that spot, in my opinion, and she's shooting very well from three. She's an excellent three-point shooter this season. She's a sniper this season, and she hustles. She gets rebounds. She gets steals. She puts her heart out.
Clark is a generational talent, a player who makes the WNBA relevant in a way it never was before. She's inspiring a new wave of fans and players, and that's something the league desperately needed. Her ability to lead the Fever and become the face of the franchise at such a young age is a testament to her skill, leadership, and the sheer force of her presence. It's no wonder that players like Bonner are struggling to adapt. They've never had to compete with someone like Clark. Clark doesn't just fill stadiums, she fills them with young fans who see her as a role model. That's where the tension lies. Veterans who spent years being the big fish in smaller ponds are suddenly confronted with the reality that they're no longer the main event. But instead of embracing the shift and finding their role in a larger, more exciting league, some, like Bonner, lash out in frustration. The fact that she tried to undermine Clark shows how threatened she feels by the younger star's success. But the truth is, Players like Clark are the future of the sport, and there's no going back to the old guard mentality. In recent years, the WNBA has seen a massive surge in fan support. But this new era isn't just about more people watching, it's about more people caring. The fans have become a vocal force in the league, and they're not just buying tickets, they're demanding better standards, better treatment, and better accountability from the players and the league itself.
But this version of Dewanna Bonner was not the version of Dewanna Bonner that was on the Indiana Fever. And, you know, kind of like sucks to see because she essentially did quit on the team with a lot of people excited that she was on the team. Like, I remember Kelsey Mitchell saying, I have the best vet in the world in Dewanna Bonner. I remember Caitlin Clark saying, I really want to win a chip for Dewanna Bonner, knowing that she's in, like, you know, the moonlight of her career. So it does feel like there are a lot of personal feelings when going up against Bonner, when going up against.
The overwhelming fan reaction to the Bonner-Clark incident shows just how much power the WNBA's audience has. Fans didn't just watch Bonner act out, they made their voices heard across social media, at games, and in the press. They saw what happened as not just a rivalry moment, but a deeper issue, one of professionalism, respect, and leadership. Fans are tired of watching players who care more about their own egos than the health of the league. The WNBA can't afford to ignore what its fans are saying. The modern fan cares deeply about the integrity of the game and the personalities who represent it. They're not just looking for entertainment, they want players who understand what it means to be part of something bigger than themselves. If the league allows behavior like Bonner's to slide, it risks alienating the very people who have made it relevant again. The fans will hold the WNBA accountable, and that's a power no one should underestimate. The clash between Dewanna Bonner and Caitlin Clark wasn't just a random moment, it was a sign that the WNBA is at a crossroads. The league can't afford to protect entitled veterans who refuse to accept the reality that the game has changed. Superstars like Caitlin Clark are leading the charge, making the WNBA more exciting and more visible than ever before. The question now is whether the league will embrace this new era or continue to prop up players who cling to outdated ways of thinking. The fans are already speaking. They're ready for a new era of leadership, one where players like Clark aren't just celebrated for their skills, but for their professionalism, commitment, and respect for the game. Bonner's outburst might have given us a moment of drama, but it also reminded us of what's at stake. The WNBA is evolving, and it's clear that players who can't adapt to that change will be left behind. So, what do you think? Should the WNBA take action against players who try to drag down rising stars? And are we witnessing the end of the old guard in women's basketball? Drop your thoughts below.